afternoon. It's McCollum on Business here on this Monday. I had to think what day it was, folks. If you caught the end of the main event, I was struggling with what day it was for that one. But it is Monday. It's McCollum on Business here at 11 o'clock. Don't forget, programming note, Tuesday morning, we do a breakfast, McCollum on Business. 7 a.m. tomorrow is when we'll be live. Of course, catch us on demand if you do miss us here live at any time as well. And folks, we've got some interesting news out there, some breaking news of a trade deal between the U.S. and India. We even have word that because of the partial government shutdown that occurred on Saturday, well, we have words here that Friday's job reports will be delayed coming up on Friday as well. So putting some wrinkles into the week in terms of how the government and how the economy is doing out there. And of course, lots of news after the weekend. So let's get right into it with that Market Watch. And you guys ever have one of those Mondays where you forget how to do things? I feel like that's me today. I'm Stephen McCollum, by the way, and we'll give you the Market Watch, stocks we're paying attention to, national and local stories you need to know here in the next 30 minutes or so is what we call this showtime. And right now, with all the news of the Friday data reports being delayed, of course, the stock market in terms of the trade being out there as well. Gold and silver down again today as well. Well, the market as a whole is actually up here with all of this news. Also, and right at the Dow Jones right now, 552 points up, as we're looking at that at 49,408. The S&P 500 is up 53 points right now to 6988. As we speak, the NASDAQ link for some reason is broken. We have no idea why. The company that we use doesn't have any idea why. So we're looking into other options, but I'll just tell you, the NASDAQ right now is up 210 points as well, is to 23,672. And then the Russell 2K up 36 points right now, 36.60 to 2650 for that small cap index. So overall, even with all the news out there, both positive and negative, well, the stock market is up today, but there is a problem here in the markets, and Bitcoin is officially taking another dive today. 78,799 is what Bitcoin is trading at here today. Went down to closer to the 75,000 range over the weekend. Bitcoin now is hitting the level where a lot of these companies that have been investing a lot of money into Bitcoin, well, they're hitting break-even levels here in the mid to high 70,000 levels. If it drops much lower than 75,000, a lot of these big institutional companies with a lot of money in Bitcoin will start officially losing money coming up here. So Bitcoin, something to watch here. And I told you, gold and silver. Silver was down 30% on Friday. Gold was down about 10%. Today, silver's down about 7%, and gold's down about 4% today as well out there on the market. So it's not, indexes look good, but it's not all positive in terms of what is happening. The dollar is strengthening, though. That's why there is a sell-off on silver and gold as well. In terms of stocks we're paying attention to right now, well, let's look at rare earth companies out there. First one we're going to look at, MP Materials. So what's happening here, as you see, they're up about 3.25%. President Trump is set to invest $12 billion in critical mineral stockpile. Well, why is he doing that? Well, he's doing that to counter China and their stockpile that they have. Now, this is coming from a White House official, and so it is on the rumor mill coming up that it could be happening. And if they're announcing it, it's coming down the pipeline. So this plan, it was first reported by Bloomberg. It obviously is sending the shares here of the rare earth companies higher. So you see MP Materials up 3.15% right now. And then there's U.S. rare earth as well we'll look at in terms of the stocks right now. Their stock is up today as well, 1.43%. Other ones, we don't have the graphs, but critical metals, they're up about 2% today. And then Idaho Strategic Resources went up about 3% today based off of this $12 billion investment here of critical mineral stockpiles. And these companies, of course, here on this market, here on this Monday, are the beneficiaries of that. And then we're going to look at NVIDIA here in this segment as well. It was our lead story today, was a NVIDIA Corporation in this move here. But it's going to be our second story because of the trade deal here between the U.S. and India. but Nvidia is down at a 0.86% right now. Wall Street Journal came out and they reported that Nvidia's $100 billion OpenAI investment that we've talked about here in McCollum on Business several times. Well, that investment apparently, the stalled is the word that I see on all the business sites, Fox, CNBC, etc. They're going to still invest in it, but it seems like they're pulling back from that $100 billion investment number that they originally had. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, he said this, by the way, over in Thailand, I believe is where he talked about this. He said a huge investment is still planned. It's just not going to be the $100 billion level. And we got more information on this story coming up for you. As I said, it'll be our second story coming up. But when we come back later on and look at stocks, we're going to look at Tesla. We're going to look at Disney as well. They reported, well, they have other issues out there. And then the crypto stocks, we're going to look at those coming up. Is obviously Bitcoin way down over the weekend and today at that 78,000 range. So we'll look at Robinhood, Coinbase, and those stocks to see how they're doing. Generally, they're down when the Bitcoin is also way down. So we'll take a look at those and see where they are. But first, as I told you, it is official. The U.S. and India, at least according to President Trump, the U.S. and India, they've reached a trade deal. And this has been a long, a big, drawn-out argument here over a deal between these two countries. So it's according to President Trump, he says it's going to immediately move to lower tariffs on each other's goods. Of course, this announcement came out earlier today, and then the Prime Minister of India reportedly has also agreed to buy American products at a much higher level as part of the agreement. Now, this is all coming from President Trump's side in obviously a social media post there on True Social. And he said put this out on the social media site after the call with the Prime Minister there of India. So he also says, Trump does, that the Indian government has committed to stop buying Russian oil and to buy much more from the United States, and even, he says, potentially Venezuela for their oil. So all that was in that post today. We all know we haven't seen any confirmation from the Indian side, but we all know the trade talks between these two companies had appeared to stall out last year. Obviously, a lot of sticking points. One of them being the continued reliance there of Indians' reliance there on Russian oil. That was the big sticking point. If you remember back in August, because they wouldn't stop buying that Russian oil, Trump put that 25% tariff on India's goods in response to those oil purchases. And that was on top of that 25% reciprocal tariff that was put on the country's U.S.-bound goods. And that had taken effect earlier, I believe it was end of July or beginning of August when that happened as well. So Trump said in that social media post that the reciprocal tariff rate on India, well, it's going to be reduced to 18% effective immediately. Then he said India will likewise move forward to reduce their tariffs and non-tariff barriers against the United States. And President Trump put on social media that that amount is going to be zero moving forward. This announcement came 1 week, if you remember. We told you about it here at McCollum on Business. India closed that major free trade agreement with the EU. Yes, the European Union. Back then, the Indian Prime Minister touted that deal as the mother of all deals out there. And now, of course, reportedly, at least according to President Trump, a deal with India here early morning here on Monday as well. So that could be a big deal here, in terms of the tariff wars and more money coming in. Obviously, if they buy more oils from us, that's obviously really good news as well. So we've only heard President Trump's side of things. We'll have to wait and see what the India side does as the day goes on here. And let's get back to that story we talked about earlier with NVIDIA, right? We looked at their stock price down 0.84% here this morning. And we know that their CEO was over there in Thailand. And he said the company's proposed $100 billion investment in OpenAI, he said, quote, was never a commitment, unquote, and that the company would consider any funding rounds, quote, one at a time, is how he phrased it. This is sending alarms all over the place here, because don't forget, NVIDIA sells a lot of chips to OpenAI to continue that. Will they kind of look at other chips now with kind of this wording? So, this was all part of that letter of intent that was actually signed back in November. Or I'm sorry, September was when it was signed. The NVIDIA at that time said it planned to invest at $100 billion in OpenAI to support new data centers and other artificial intelligence infrastructure out there. The deal was designed to help OpenAI build data centers with a capacity of at least 10 gigawatts of power. So basically, that's the equivalent of peak electricity demand of New York City. They're going to, of course, obviously be equipped with NVIDIA's advanced chips to train and deploy AI models. So now the report came out on Friday that the investment plan announced in September, well, it's stalled, according to the Wall Street Journal, after some inside NVIDIA expressed doubts about the deal and moving forward with it. Citing unidentified people familiar with the matter, the Wall Street Journal reported that Wang had privately emphasized that the $100 billion agreement was non binding, had privately criticized what he has described as a lack of discipline in OpenAI's business approach, and he's even expressed concern about competition in OpenAI. That's the biggest threat to OpenAI is the Google AI system with the money they have backed behind it as well. So they did say, though, as I told you in the stock look, that they are saying they're going to still invest a ton of money. They won't say how much, but that $100 billion number is kind of roiling the markets here for NVIDIA. As you saw, they were down earlier today out there as well. So kind of a big breaking story over the weekend in terms of that AI side of things. Now let's go to space here as well. We'll go to the other side of the world, but it has to do with space. And Elon Musk did come out, and he said that SpaceX, of course, that he's CEO of, he says it appears to have been successful in blocking Russia from making unauthorized use of Starlink internet systems over there in Ukraine as these two countries continue to battle it out, I guess we could say, over that land. So here's what's happened. Starlink units, they've supported the Ukrainian forces throughout the invasion. And Elon Musk, at one point, I don't know if he still is, was giving the Starlink stuff to Ukraine for free. But, of course, as the war has gone on, Russian forces have captured many of the units as they've invaded and gone through this war. And now SpaceX, they've been working to block Russian forces from utilizing the captured devices. And now Ukrainian officials say that they are working to prevent Russian access long term. So this is interesting here because Ukraine noticed that Russian drones were operating over Ukrainian cities and they were using the Starlink connectivity to fly them over the cities. Well, officials there in Ukraine immediately reached out to SpaceX for a solution to solve this. And they worked together. They reportedly have figured it out. They're working on a system where only authorized devices will work in Ukraine. So we're seeing security questions play out right before our eyes here over in Ukraine, which obviously will lead to other security completions here as well for this system. And back here and on the Americas side of things, we know a lot of big companies are leaving California. We've known it for a long time. Tesla moved out, obviously, of there, moved to Austin, Texas. We talked last week about a big investment firm from Wells Fargo moving to Florida as well, at least on their investment side of things. Now we're seeing some quantum computing companies leave Silicon Valley as well. So just a quick note here for you. We're seeing this more and more here. D-Wave, well, that's a company that does quantum computing stuff. They've developed two types of custom quantum computers designed to solve complex problems much faster than traditional systems do. That's what quantum computing, and they're trying to figure that out for that reason. The customers include government agencies, Fortune 500 companies, and there, of course, tons of research institutions are interested in the quantum computing side of things. Well, they're moving from Silicon Valley and they're moving to Boca Raton, Florida. So they're moving their headquarters specifically. It's going to include the company's main research and development facility. That's going to span 25,000 square feet inside the Boca Raton Innovation Campus. That's the same site where IBM developed the first personal computer back in 1981. Interesting enough, right? For a long time ago, people have been talking for a while of people leaving California. Gavin Newsom, of course, like, no, they're not. No, they're not. We're seeing high-profile companies and tech companies leave a lot over the last several years. Even back, if you look back to last year sometime, end of last year, middle of last year, Boca Raton Mayor Scott Singer, who's now a congressional candidate there in Florida, he said at that time the threat of people leaving high tax, high crime jurisdictions like New York and other places is real. And we're seeing large institutional companies and up and coming customers with a lot of money officially making their move to Florida. Second big company that we've talked about here in the last week or two. So, something to keep an eye on as more and more companies are making that move out there, folks. And now I guess this is kind of exciting, right? Goes back to an old age of things, and it has been delayed here because of weather, but let's go back to the space side of things. And NASA has officially began a 2-day practice countdown. They did it on Saturday. That's leading up to the fueling of that new moon rocket that they want to launch. That's a critical test, and it'll determine when the four astronauts blast off. They're going to do a lunar flyby at this point. The time frame of this flight is what amazes me more than everything. So the astronauts, the four people, are already in quarantine, obviously to avoid any germs. Don't take anything up there with you. It's Commander Reed Wiseman and his crew. They will be the first people to launch to the moon since 1972. Been a while since we've orbited the moon. They're going to monitor the dress rehearsal from their Houston base before flying to Kennedy Space Center once the rocket is officially cleared for flight. So this is going to happen here, and it's a 322-foot space launch system rocket. If you didn't see the pictures on this, it was pretty fascinating. It was moved out to the pad 2 weeks ago. Now it's been out there, and now they're doing the other critical stuff. If the fueling test goes well today, NASA could try to launch within a week to get them up into space. Teams will fill the rocket tank with more than 700,000 gallons of super cold fuel. They're going to stop at half a minute short of when the engines would light. I find that fascinating. They the engines light as they fill it with fuel instead of a button or something. It's a little bit delayed because of this huge cold spell that's going through Florida over the weekend. That cold spell did delay the fueling demo and even the launch by 2 days. So February 8th would be the earliest the rocket could actually blast off. So this is what fascinates me the most. All they're doing is they're launching, they're going to go around the moon and come right back down to Earth and then splash down. It's the Orion capsule is what they're going to fly in here as well. It's on top of the rocket and everything. So, U.S. Canadian astronauts are also making this trip. They're going to, like I said, not stopping anywhere, just a nonstop go around the moon, come back to Earth and splash down. That's all they are doing. They're going to land in the Pacific. It's going to take 10 days to complete this trip. It fascinates me on the day stuff, to get out there that far. I don't know. I look up at the moon. It doesn't look like it's that far away. I got to do the jokes here, right? 10 days to make that trip, folks. That's what fascinates me the most. But we could be just a week away from that officially happening as well. And let's go to some concerning things in the healthcare feed here, right? We talk about, how big and how expensive premiums are nowadays for less coverage. And I said it a couple weeks ago. We were talking about this. I said, yeah, you paid the overpriced premium every month. Then when you go to the doctor, your bills are more expensive. So you're paying, double those amounts, triple those amounts and everything. And now a new trend has come out here that people are taking notice to. And if you visited a hospital owned doctor's office, that's a new trend that's been happening over the last couple of years. Well, you could be finding something, and most likely you are, or you might not be missing it, but it is something that could make you not like it, could feel even more sick than going actually to the doctor's office in general out there. Well, it's a facility fee, is what they call it. Yes, it's unrelated to the medical treatment that you receive. Yes, this is so it just hits the bottom. It's like when you go to a restaurant and they say, electricity feed, or healthcare feed. You get a lot of that over in California, but these charges could range in price from $25 to thousands of dollars. It's typically showing up on patients' medical bills following the annual physical exam. If you just go for strep throat, even telehealth appointments are getting hit with this extra amount of fees. Facility fees, if you don't know, they were put in and intended to help hospitals offset their high overhead costs. Things like overnight care, use of specialized equipment, and other expenses that make them costly to run. But it's also trickling down to your regular doctor appointments. That's because hospitals are acquiring independent physician clinics. They've been on that trek a lot lately as well. And they don't, your local doctor doesn't face hospital scale expenses. But pay attention because you may still be hit with those charges, even if it's an outpatient setting, right? I'm telling you, it's just a strep throat. You're in, you're out. The facility fee could be on there. Facility fees drive up, obviously, medical costs, and even they'll dissuade some people from even seeking the care with the added fees under that. If you don't know, facility fees first started around 2023. They become increasingly common as hospitals acquire more independent physician practices. About 50% of community practices are owned by hospitals now, folks. If you didn't know that, that's what's happening out there. So the fees are becoming unavoidable for many consumers, and they're becoming an added expense to go see just a regular doctor out there. So be aware of that. Pay attention to it. That could add a lot of money out of pocket, right? Yeah, your insurance might take care of it at some point, but you also have to pay 20% of that sometimes. Some people more than that. It's just adding on there, and it doesn't have anything to do with the care you receive in that doctor's visit out there. And when we come back here at McCollum on Business, look, we've been to space, we've been back down again. Well, now we're going to talk about sneakers, some sports stuff out there, both nationally as well as here in the Valley with the Fiesta Bowl committee and so much more. And at the end, Super Bowl's this Sunday. You like ketchup? I've got the story for you. It's probably too late for you to get it for the Super Bowl here, but it's becoming available for the football season coming up here in 2026 in August. So, folks, pay attention. Come on back. McCollum on Business. And we're back here, McCollum on Business, and woo-wee, Monday is busy with all the stuff happening over the weekend and not going away anytime soon here, as Trump did say U.S. and India reached a trade deal. We told you stuff from the United States side. We'll have to see what India says. We know that Friday's job reports will be delayed because of this partial government shutdown happening right now as well. And folks, we looking into a lot of stuff here as we go into reporting season. You saw there during the commercial break, the main event. It's in the can for today. On demand here, Robat TV right now, of course, YouTube page as well for our production stuff out there, along with all of the shows that we produce. Free podcast system at TME Sports Show is where you can find that. Follow us on social media at TME Sports Show as well. And folks, we were going to start up the pit stop here this week. Well, it's been delayed because the clash, the pre-race here to the start of the season before the Daytona 500, it's been delayed because of snow. It's not going off till at least Wednesday now. We'll see if it does get off on Wednesday night. So Pit Stop, though, definitely back next week. Follow me at the Pit Stop Talk, where we do the announcement on when we will actually get that show up and running for the new year, racing year as well. NASCAR starts your Daytona 500 in a couple weeks. IndyCar on March 1st, among other racing stuff coming our way. So the Pit Stop about a week away here, depending on when this clash gets kicked off. But definitely, worst case, next week is what we are looking at. Of course, Robot TV is where you can find that on demand. Of course, at TME Sports Show, at the Pit Stop Talk is where you can find it for the podcast. And then, of course, on that YouTube page. And, of course, you just saw the commercial also for the Real Matrix out there. Every Friday, 10 o'clock, it posts new episode here at Robot TV. We have to kind of be careful there on YouTube, so we've had to take it down because of some other issues happening there on the YouTube side of things. Copyright stuff, etc. They don't like some of the talking points. We have another way we're going to push that out there. Of course, you can find it right now on demand here at Robot TV, and the Real Matrix, of course, on the podcast system is what you can find it as well if you just want to listen to the show there as well. The podcast and the visual side, well, that is up at noon on Friday. Robot TV, though, live at 10 o'clock here, or at least on demand here at 10 o'clock at Robot TV, starting on Fridays for you. And folks, let's get right back into that Market Watch. And it's been a good day, even with all of the news out there. And we apologize for that NASDAQ link still being broken. It's the site that we use to push this out. Dow Jones still up 474 points today. S&P 500 up 46 points. You know, obviously we got the U.S.-India trade tide news. We know gold and silver are still going down here today as they did on Friday. Bitcoin way down as well, even though it's technically up today, 1,400 points. The NASDAQ is up 186 points right now. Russell 2K is up to 31 points as we're talking. Bitcoin trading at 78,339 for Bitcoin here today as well. And, so an overall good day here on the market, even with some question marks out there with NVIDIA being down and kind of question marks around them. And we're going to look at some stocks now that are also down. And, well, Tesla is one we're going to look at here right now. Yeah, down 0.99% as we talk right now. They were down over 2% when I looked at them about an hour or so ago. Well, Bloomberg News came out, and they said Waymo is looking to raise $16 billion at a valuation of around $110 billion, raising concerns over Tesla's current valuation, folks. Tesla is overvalued, but we've told you this before. Tesla isn't valued off of their car sales, etc. Tesla's valued off of their robots and their AI stuff that they're implementing. That's where their valuation comes from. But this Waymo looking to raise this $16 billion with that valuation of $110 billion, well, obviously making some question marks over Tesla's side of things as well. So Tesla is down today, and it also is a big deal because of it's also down also because of the broader pullback in electric vehicle stocks. As we know, electric vehicles have taken a hit since September when that subsidy went away. And so Tesla down overall here today, 1.11% as of right now. And then let's look at Disney out there. This is a big one as well today. 6.67% down. And we're going to talk about ESPN, which is a Disney company, selling 10% of its business, getting some NFL assets. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. But they're down big today at the 6.73%. They did top fiscal first quarter estimates, though. Disney did. Disney did warn that a decline in international visitors to the United States theme parks will result in modest growth in what they call the experiences division. We know a lot of foreign tourists are not traveling to the United States right now for a myriad of reasons out there. Disney also anticipates higher costs as it launches a new cruise line and even attractions at its park over in Paris, France. So, a lot of improvements going on outside of the United States with the cruise line in Paris. Obviously they're taking big hits here right now with the bidding on sports rights. Not cheap to do that, to get college football stuff, NFL stuff out there. So the earnings report comes as investors are speculating about what might be ahead for the company, and this is also affecting them. We know Bob Iger is nearing the end of his contract. He stepped away from the company once, had to step back into the role. Well, his contract's winding up again, and what's the future here for management? They missed last time with Iger going away, and what's going to happen now moving forward for Disney is the bigger question. And then you got crypto stocks, is what we're going to look at right now as well. Obviously, Bitcoin being down today big means the crypto stocks are also down. Robinhood Markets is down today. It's down about 8%, 9.51% right now is what it's at. Mara Holdings, no graph on this. It's down about 2%. Coinbase Global down today. We're going to show you this graph here as well. It's down about 3% right now for Coinbase Global. And 2.87% is where they're down. No graph on this one, but another company in the same field, bullish. Well, it's off about 2% here today. So crypto stocks all down today, with Bitcoin being far down as well for them. So some industries being affected by what's happening out there. And over the weekend in our story here, before we get into some local stuff, well, if you're a Costco member, probably didn't do it here. You didn't do it here in Phoenix because they weren't sold here. But Costco members lined up, big lines on Friday. That was the last Friday. They were all lining up for an exclusive pair of Nike SB Dunk collaboration sneakers with the Kirkland brand there at Costco. Yes, it was very hard to get the pair. And if you didn't, you're going to have to end up paying a lot of money here to buy them from third-party sellers out there. They were sold in Costco locations in New York, Oregon, California, Washington State as well. These are Kirkland Signature X Nike SB Dunk Low is what it's called. What a name, right? They were priced at $135. Third-party reseller websites starting over the weekend. I didn't look this morning. Places like StockX, eBay, and GOAT. Well, they have pairs available for between $400 and $500 if you're interested in a Kirkland pair of Nikes. We don't know whether these shoes will be restocked or see a wider release, but it was a test one and a very successful test there for Costco. And so just something to keep an eye on moving forward, as I always get a kick out of these specialty things and how people go crazy for those specialty things as we deal with that. And as I told you earlier, talking about Disney, ESPN's purchase of the NFL Network and those other league digital assets, well, they've been finalized over the weekend. The government regulators approved the transaction on Saturday. So what this means is the NFL and ESPN, they announced the closing of the deal Saturday night. And it's not good for consumers in my eyes, but ESPN acquired NFL Network, NFL Fantasy, and the rights to distribute the Red Zone channel. Now that is going to go out to cable satellite operators still. The league will get, the NFL will get a 10% equity stake in ESPN. So they're saying you're not going to notice any changes until April. And that includes on the NFL Network as well. That's when those employed by NFL media does become part of ESPN. So you'll start to see layoffs, changes in sets, the designs, and stuff to that effect, probably around April. The NFL Network has about 50 million subscribers. It's going to be moved and included into ESPN's direct-to-consumer product, which is that ESPN Unlimited that launched last August. I have to get that because of the WWE stuff. The NFL Red Zone channel, it will still be distributed by ESPN to cable and satellite operators like it is now. But you're going to see more and more commercials and other changes to that coming up, folks. Then the NFL will continue to own, operate, and produce the channel, the Red Zone channel, as well as retain the rights to distribute the channel digitally. ESPN is going to get the rights to the Red Zone brand, which basically means the Red Zone channels could be coming for college football, basketball, hockey, other sports. Could get a Red Zone for a lot of different things out there. NFC Fantasy Football is going to merge with ESPN Fantasy Football. That's going to give ESPN the official fantasy football game of the league. And then the NFL Network will still air 7 games per season. 4 of ESPN's games, including some that are in overlapping windows on Monday nights, right? The double Monday Night Football games. Well, those will move to the NFL Network now. ESPN will license 3 additional games that will be carried on the NFL Network as well. But then the NFL has actually taken back the rights to 4 international games. They were out to other bidders out there, and they've taken them back, and it's expected to be put up for bid again. The league has discussed each of its 32 teams playing at least one international game per season. That's where I tell you on the main event, when they go to 18 regular season games here, next time the CBA wraps up in 2030, that's going to happen. The NFL will continue to own and operate NFL Films, NFL Plus, NFL.com, and the official websites of the 32 teams. The NFL Podcast Network will still be owned by the NFL, and the NFL Fast Channel, that's a basically a free ad-supported channel that you can get. With this sale, ESPN is 72% owned by ABC. And that is obviously a direct subsidiary there of the Walt Disney Channel. 18% is owned by Hearst, and 10% now by the NFL with that sale. And I said it earlier on the main event. This is not good for consumers in my eyes. One, ESPN dials everything down. Pre-game, post-game stuff, not very good in terms of that. They dial it down. They have their ESPN, right? Stephen A. Smith. Love him or hate him. That's up to you to decide. All he does is go on to these pre-games and post-games and yell about stuff and doesn't give you a lot of information. They've turned everything into a debate style, right? And then they're going to get more towards, official podcasts where you're going to get less and less information, truthful information spread out. You're going to get narratives sent out to these groups. And I just don't think it's good for consumers. We'll see how it does play out. But going from that sports story to hear another local one, well, the first, I guess we should say inaugural. Let's not say first time. Inaugural Fiesta Bowl Flag Football Classic presented by Oakley. Well, it's officially a thing. It's a 2-day 7-on-7 showcase. It's coming on April 18th and 19th of this year. It's going to feature 8 of the nation's top women's collegiate flag football programs. They're all going to come to Arizona to compete for the first national competition of its kind. Games will be hosted at ASU's Tempe campus there on the fields at Dorsey. And that's a proven venue for elite flag football competition where they already have a lot of that stuff there. So Alabama State, Arizona State, Charlotte, University of Florida, University of Georgia, Grand Canyon University, University of Central Florida, even University of Southern California will be coming in. They're going to enjoy a Fiesta Bowl level experience for their student athletes. And of course, obviously establishing a new national standard for collegiate flag football competition. This is all being put together, what used to be called the Fiesta Bowl Committee, adding this onto this as well. It's going to be a multi-day championship format, 3-game pool play on the first day leading into the title game playoff bracket, and award celebration for day 2. It's kind of the format. Participating teams are going to enjoy premium accommodations, curated hospitality experiences, player gifting, and a signature Fiesta Bowl welcome designed to make every student athlete feel like a star both on and off the field, according to the Flag Football Classic release there that I saw earlier today. So flag football is growing, folks. If you're not following it, especially on the women's side, and of course going to the Olympics here coming up as well for that. Hey, here on a local side, well, maybe we know why APS is trying to put together a double-digit price hike again. They say they've known about it a while, but we're just learning about it in public. And Arizona Public Service, well, it's losing out on a $1.8 billion gift here from the federal government. The money would have been used to do things with clean energy projects. The U.S. Department of Energy last week announced plans to restructure, substantially revise, or even eliminate more than $83 billion in loans that the Biden administration had planned for clean energy projects. We all know the Trump administration wants to prioritize nuclear, coal, gas, even geothermal energy generation with this administration. The APS loan had been planned for a new battery storage facility to support a solar generation site, along with other new renewable energy products. Well, the statement came out, and a spokesperson for APS did say that APS was aware that this was coming. It would have no impact on the plans for developing resources that serve the customers or top-tier reliability, was the statement they did put out there. So these loans continue to be pulled from these companies from the Trump administration. And we got other things to worry about, right? Water rights out there. If you're not following this, this is all the amount of water that Arizona gets from the Colorado River that's up for negotiation. And Over the week last week, Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs and leaders of 6 other western states that do rely on the Colorado River, they got together on Friday for talks, right? And they're trying to end this whole argument, the stalemate, if you will, over rights to the Colorado River's dwindling supply of water. The meeting ended without a deal, but Hobbs did indicate that the progress was made thanks to newfound flexibility from upstream states. The Governor Hobbs returned to Arizona over the weekend and plans to meet with key stakeholders in Phoenix on Monday, meaning today, at the Central Arizona Project headquarters to discuss the ramifications of that meeting that happened last week. By the way, that's right up the road from us here, so I wonder if there's going to be traffic when I leave. Or can I just walk into that meeting? Questions. See if I can get arrested. But she's going to notify APS and what the other states that are all angling for their share of that Colorado River water. Arizona went into that meeting and it offered 1.5 million acre feet of cuts from the outset of talks. But the upper basin states, which are Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming, well, they haven't budged at all from the amounts that they currently get out there. An acre foot, by the way, is the amount of water needed to cover an acre of land with 1 foot of water. So that's about 325,851 gallons. A million acre feet could fill about 500,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Arizona gets roughly 40% of its water from the Colorado River right now. So changes are coming. We know this has been in negotiation for a while. It's going to continue to be in negotiation, but there's an update for you as well. And hey, you probably are out of it for this weekend with the Super Bowl, but it is something that's coming out later on in 2026 for the football season. And Heinz, I'm going to read the top of this story here from Heinz itself. They're cracking open a new way to enjoy America's favorite condiment. Yes, they're introducing the Heinz Ketchup, folks. First ever keg of unmistakably rich Heinz ketchup, as they put it. Yes, a keg of ketchup. Well, it's a mini keg. Let's put it that way. Obviously, this has been inspired by the beer industry out there, as the beer industry has tapped countless times, meaning kegs out there, to ensure fans never run dry. Well, now this Heinz Ketchup, well, it allows watch parties to never be short of ketchup. Has that been an issue before? Do you run out of ketchup at your parties? Yes. I don't know if I've ever seen ketchup run out. Of course, the beer is highly sold here for the Super Bowl coming up, but we all know the big game is the second largest food holiday of the year. In fact, the majority of fans tune in to watch the game from the comfort of their home, and that means 84%, according to studies, say they make their own party snacks and put everything together out there. So interesting enough that you have to deal with. Here's the deal. The last week is when you had to get on Instagram to be eligible to win one of them for this weekend for the Super Bowl. But you can also visit HeinzKegchup.com to join the list for exclusive order access to the limited edition kegs. It's set to launch at the start of the 2026 football season is when it's officially out. As I said last week, I think you can go on Instagram to win a keg for this weekend. Very limited out there. I didn't tell you about it last week because I didn't realize they were doing that last week. But go to Heinz Ketchup. I just love it. Just clever names. Hey, folks, McCollum on Business wrapping up here for this Monday. Don't forget, Tuesdays, we do the morning show here for McCollum on Business. We'll be here at 7 a.m. tomorrow, of course. Get you updated on what happens in the business world here overnight. And then, of course, the main event right after that as well. So come and join us, would you? If you miss us live, catch us on demand here at Robat TV, YouTube as well. No podcast for this show out there, but we appreciate the interest in that. But catch us here, and we'll see you tomorrow, everybody, 7 a.m. McCollum on Business.